Good evening, music fans around the globe, and buckle up, because this one might make you question everything you thought you knew about the world's most peace-loving drummer. At 84 years old, the legendary who's been smiling his way through 6 decades of fame just dropped a confession that left fans, and probably a few Italian chefs, utterly speechless. In a recent interview that's now gone viral, admitted he's never eaten pizza in his entire life. Yes, you heard that right. The same man who once jammed alongside John and George in Smoky Studios, the same who once appeared in a Pizza Hut commercial, just revealed that he's allergic to several ingredients, including the very ones that make up the world's most beloved dish. Somewhere out there, a slice of pepperoni just shed a tear. When the interviewer first heard it, they thought was joking. After all, who makes it to 84 without ever tasting pizza or curry? But nope, this wasn't a prank or an April Fool's moment. He doubled down, explaining that his allergies made him swear off a whole range of foods decades ago. "I'm allergic to onions, garlic, and a few others," he said casually, as if he hadn't just shattered the foundation of Italian cuisine. Fans immediately took to social media, joking that had betrayed the pepperoni and suggesting someone send him a hypoallergenic margarita just to fix this global imbalance. But underneath the laughter, there was something oddly profound about it. This wasn't just a quirky dietary fact. It hinted at something deeper about a man who's always done things his own way, even when it's the opposite of what the world expects from a rock legend. And while this might seem like a minor confession, it's the kind of unexpected revelation that makes you realize how little we actually know about the people we've idolized for decades. Because if a man who drummed through the most famous musical revolution in history never had pizza, what else has he been hiding from us? And that's where the story gets even more interesting, because this strange admission was only the appetizer. What came next made fans laugh, gasp, and realize that still full of surprises even after 8 decades on this planet. Stay tuned, because what he said next involved Bob, a hotel room, and a missing dinner order. Spoiler, this one's not about salad, though we wouldn't put it past him. The pizza paradox. Now let's dive deeper into the part of this revelation that had the internet absolutely losing its collective mind, the pizza paradox. Imagine this, a world-famous drummer knighted by the Queen who spent his youth touring the globe living the wild rock and roll dream, and yet somehow through all those years of fame he never once took a bite of pizza. Not even a nibble, not even a rebellious pepperoni on a cheat day. And here's the kicker, he once starred in a Pizza Hut commercial. Yes, the man who fronted an ad campaign encouraging people to grab a slice was secretly thinking, "Not me, mate." That's like being the face of Coca-Cola and only drinking kale smoothies. It's the kind of irony that even would written a song about. When that revelation hit social media, the memes came faster than a Beatles single topping the charts in the 60s. Fans posted clips of the old Pizza Hut ad zooming in dramatically on his face as he delivered the line, "Can't buy me love, but you can buy pizza," as if they'd just uncovered a decades-long conspiracy. One fan commented, "I trusted you with my childhood dinners," while another quipped, "Bro was selling pizza he couldn't even eat." The jokes didn't stop. Someone even made an AI image of running from a flying slice of pepperoni like it was a UFO over Abbey Road. But here's the thing, the more you think about it, the more it makes sense. He's always been a man of balance and restraint. While the other Beatles had their fair share of late-night studio snacks and chaotic tour, was the health-conscious one, vegetarian, disciplined, and oddly zen in a world of mayhem. His no pizza, no curry rule isn't rebellion, it's routine. It's how he's still touring, drumming, and smiling like it's 1964, while the rest of us get back pain just from standing too long. So maybe secret to eternal youth isn't some cosmic mystery or fancy Hollywood diet. Maybe it's just avoiding pizza, though let's be honest, that's a sacrifice most of us aren't spiritually strong enough to make. And yet this pizza confession was only the first layer of the onion he can't eat. Because what came next took fans from the kitchen to the clouds, a story involving Bob, some hotel chaos, and an unintentional high that himself still laughs about to this day. And no, there was still no pizza involved, just smoke, laughter, and an epic case of the munchies gone wrong. The night he got high by accident. Now if the pizza bombshell wasn't wild enough, his next revelation took us from dietary surprises straight into a haze of rock history, quite literally. During another interview in 2025, casually dropped one of the most legendary oops stories you'll ever hear. He revealed that his first time trying weed happened thanks to none other than Bob. Yes, that Bob, in what can only be described as the most chill accident in rock and roll history. According to, his friend handed him a joint at a hotel during the mid-60s, and before he even realized what was happening, he was part of a smoky diplomatic summit between the Beatles and America's poet laureate of folk music. Picture it, 4 lads from Liverpool trying to act cool around, pretending they knew what they were doing, while secretly wondering if they were supposed to inhale or just philosophize about the clouds. As always, told the story with his trademark humor, describing how the whole room was filled with laughter, fog, and confusion. Apparently at one point, they'd even ordered room service, but when the food arrived, nobody remembered ordering it. "We were just staring at it," he recalled, "like it was a UFO landing on the table." Imagine that, the Beatles at the height of their fame, forgetting about dinner because Bob accidentally turned supper into a cosmic experience. Somewhere was probably writing the early draft of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds on a napkin, while just tried to remember which planet they were on. Fans couldn't get enough of this story. It wasn't scandalous, it was relatable, because even legends have those "wait, what were we doing again?" moments. And of course, the internet had a field day. One comment said, "Getting high with sounds like the most wholesome bad decision ever." Another joked, "Forget Pepper, this was true Lonely Hearts Club trip." But perhaps what made the story so charming was how told it. No shame, no glorification, just a funny, very human memory from a life that's seen more chaos than most of us could imagine. Still, this wasn't just about a wild night with, it revealed something deeper. It wasn't the reckless rebel many assumed. He was the quiet one who rolled with the madness but always kept his feet and drumsticks on the ground. And as fans laughed over his story, another side of him became clear. Behind that grin was a man who's seen the highs and lows of fame, sometimes quite literally. But if you think that's where his surprises end, think again. Because the next part of his confession takes us from haze to headlines, when admitted he's been retiring longer than most people's careers last. Retirement, he said that since the Stone Age. Now, if Swede's story proved he can still laugh about the wild old days, his next revelation shows he's equally good at laughing at himself, especially when it comes to his never-ending retirement. For decades, has been teasing the world with the same line, "This might be my last tour." Fans have heard it so many times that at this point, it's practically part of the. And every time he says it, his children apparently roll their eyes in perfect harmony. In a 2025 interview, one of his kids joked that they're fed up with his dramatic retirement talk because every single time he announces it, he somehow ends up back on the road, drumming like he's got another 60 years left in him. Honestly, it's starting to feel like the rock version of The Boy Who Cried Wolf, except in this version, the wolf just keeps buying more concert tickets. Fans have developed an inside joke about it. He's been retiring since the dinosaurs were in Abbey Road. Each new tour announcement feels like, and the man himself seems to love it. He once quipped, "Every time I think I'm done, I look in the mirror and realize I've got more peace and love to share." At this point, peace and love might be his unofficial retirement fund. Even at 84, he's still bouncing around stage like a kid who just found out recess got extended. While most people his age are comparing medications, he's out there comparing drum solos. But here's the fun twist behind the humor, there's something admirable about it. The guy can't stop because he genuinely loves what he does. He's not chasing money, fame, or nostalgia, he's chasing joy. When he says, "I'll stop when I stop having fun," you actually believe him. And maybe that's why his fake retirements have become part of his brand. Fans aren't annoyed, they're amused. It's almost comforting now, like an annual tradition. Announces his final tour, the internet collectively rolls its eyes, and then 6 months later, everyone's dancing to Photograph again. Still, his relentless spirit doesn't come from denial, it comes from something much more powerful. Despite the age, the jokes, and the headlines, he insists he still feels 24. And that brings us to his next confession, one that left fans both inspired and slightly suspicious of his routine. The man who still feels 24. If you've ever looked at and wondered how the man who drummed through the British invasion still looks like he's ready to headline, you're not alone. At 84, made yet another headline, not for another farewell tour this time, but for saying quite sincerely that he still feels 24 years old. During an interview earlier this year, he grinned and said, "When I look in the mirror, I see this old guy looking back, but inside, I'm still 24. And honestly, you kind of believe him." It's not delusion, it's attitude. The man radiates more youthful energy than half the TikTok influencers combined, and he does it without filters, ring lights, or dance challenges. Somewhere, the fountain of youth just gave up and changed its name to. He still tours records and wakes up with the same grin he's had since Liverpool. His secret, he swears, it's peace, love, and laughter. "It's all in the attitude," he said, waving his hand in that classic way that makes you think he's half rock legend, half cool uncle at a barbecue. Fans adore that about him. He doesn't deny aging, he just refuses to let it define him. Maybe that's why he's so magnetic. While others grumble about bad knees, still out there cracking jokes and making music that somehow sounds both nostalgic and fresh. It's as if the man traded wrinkles for rhythm. But of course, the internet couldn't resist turning this into comedy gold. Memes popped up saying, "Feels 24 because he skipped pizza, beer, and drama." Others joked, "At this point, he's not aging, he's buffering." Even got looped into the jokes, with fans tweeting, "Might be the cute, but's the immortal one." Still, beneath all that humor is a truth that's hard to ignore. Agelessness isn't physical, it's spiritual. He's proof that youth isn't a number, it's a playlist. And maybe that's why his latest admissions feel more like life lessons than shockers. Behind the laughter and the pizza allergy, there's a man who's learned to live simply, eat carefully, and drum joyfully. His secret is Botox, it's balance. But just when fans thought they'd heard it all, he revealed something else that made people laugh and scratch their heads at the same time. Apparently, the reason for that boundless energy and unshakable positivity lies in his famously strict diet, and spoiler alert, it's not exactly rock and roll. The secret diet of a... Now here, where story takes a surprisingly wholesome twist, because while most rock legends have tales of late-night burgers and hangovers that could level a small city, Vice has always been Kale. That's right. The man who once stood on stage while the world screamed yeah, 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 has spent decades quietly saying no, no, no to pretty much everything on the menu. Diet is so clean it could probably pass a medical inspection. He's been a vegetarian since the late 1960s, avoids dairy, and is allergic to onions, garlic, shellfish, and of course, anything remotely resembling pizza. At this point, he's not a man, he's a walking Whole Foods success story. His fridge is probably so pure that it gives nutritionists goosebumps. He once admitted with that charming grin, "I don't eat anything I can't spell," and fans couldn't tell if he was joking or dead serious. But hey, it's working. While most 84-year-olds are trading recipes for soup, still drumming like he's in a cardio class, his wife Barbara has said she follows the same health routine. They meditate, eat clean, and laugh every day. If love is medicine, then marriage might be the pharmaceutical miracle scientists have been looking for. And if you're thinking this all sounds a bit extreme for a rock star, you're not alone. Fans online joked, "It's the only who replaced substances with smoothies." Another wrote, "No pizza, no curry, no stress, he's one salad away from becoming a Jedi Master." But lifestyle isn't about strictness, it's about balance. He's not trying to be perfect, he just knows what works for him. That's the charm of it. Even when he talks about his health, there's humor in his voice, a lightness that reminds you he's never taken himself too seriously. In an industry built on chaos, somehow became the calm center, the drummer who kept time not just in music, but in life. And maybe that's the real reason he's outlasted so many of his peers. He treated wellness not as a trend, but as a rhythm. Still, don't be fooled by the salads and smoothies. Beneath that peaceful, zen-like exterior still has a perfectionist streak sharper than a studio mic. He may live like a monk, but in the studio, he's a machine, something he proved when he talked about the Beatles' recording sessions and their obsession with getting it just right. Behind the drum kit, the perfectionist. For a man who preaches peace and love, runs a surprisingly tight ship when it comes to music. Sure, he might look like your cool grandpa who'd tell you to chill and meditate, but behind the drum kit, he's all business. In a late 2024 interview with Elle revealed a side that many fans had never seen: the ruthless perfectionist. He admitted that during the Beatles' recording sessions, whenever the band showed up too happy after a long night out, the results were, in his words, a mess. "If we were partying," he said bluntly, "the takes were always terrible." And just like that, the world learned that even the Beatles, gods of rock, had off days that sounded like karaoke night gone wrong. Somewhere out there, a frustrated producer from 1967 just nodded in agreement. Went on to explain that the group's legendary sound didn't come from magic or luck, but from hard work and focus. You can almost picture it, experimenting with lyrics, obsessing over melody, and in the corner, tapping the snare with surgical precision, waiting until everything clicked. He's often been unfairly labeled the quiet, but moments like this show, he was the backbone that held the chaos together. Without him, the band might sounded more like four geniuses jamming in different time zones. And it's that discipline, that refusal to settle, that still drives him today. He's not just drumming for nostalgia, he's still chasing that perfect groove. Of course, the internet being the internet, fans had a field day with his comment. One wrote, "So the Beatles were human after all, just with better haircuts." Another joked, "Saying their party sessions were terrible means my garage band still has hope." But beyond the humor, people respected his honesty. It shattered the myth that all great music is born from chaos, and showed that even rock legends need discipline, clarity, and apparently early bedtimes. And that balance between playfulness and precision is exactly what keeps so fascinating. He's proof that you can be spiritual without being soft, and serious without being sour. He's the rare musician who can spend 1 minute talking about mindfulness and the next criticizing a snare mic that's 1 decibel off. But his candid nature didn't stop there, because right after that interview, he confirmed a long-standing rumor that fans had debated for years. A confession that finally made everyone say, "Ah, so that's what we suspected all along." The rumor that wouldn't die. Every celebrity has at least one rumor that follows them through the decades like a shadow, and for it was always the question, is he really that calm or is it just an act? Fans have whispered for years that behind his easy grin and peace and love mantra, there might be a grumpier, more reclusive who doesn't like the spotlight as much as people think. Well, in 2025, the man himself finally decided to address it, and in classic fashion, he did it with a smirk and a punchline. "People think I'm too nice," he said, "but try calling me before noon." And just like that, the mystery was solved. Turns out the legendary drummer of the Beatles isn't secretly hiding a dark side, he's just a man who values sleep more than small talk. Somewhere probably nodded and said, "Yup, that." in truth, admitted that he is more private than people realize. He doesn't like crowds, doesn't go to many celebrity parties, and prefers staying home or on the road with his band rather than mingling at red carpets. "I love performing," he said, "but I also love quiet. For a rock star, that's almost a scandal." Fans had imagined him as this endlessly cheerful mascot of 60s optimism, but the reality is far more relatable. He's the guy who'd rather chill with a cup of tea than attend to Hollywood. One fan commented, "So's big secret is he's an introvert. Same man, same." And that's what made this confession so funny, because the rumor that people thought would be scandalous turned out to be utterly wholesome. He wasn't hiding affairs, feuds, or feisty temper tantrums. Nope, the shocking truth was that it's basically all of us after age 30, allergic to noise, drama, and uninvited phone calls. Fans online ran with it, creating memes like "patron saint of staying home" and "the only who'd RSVP maybe to heaven." The man's honesty turned what could have been a PR nightmare into one of the most charming moments of his late career. But perhaps the best part, this little truth bomb didn't make seem smaller, it made him more human. Behind the fame, fortune, and history books, he's still just a guy who wants peace, love, and a good night's sleep. And in a world that glorifies chaos, that kind of simplicity might be the most rebellious thing about him. But while the confession ended one rumor, it sparked another, because when the internet reacts, it really reacts. The next wave of mania came not from music, but from memes, mock outrage, and a few hilarious fan theories. Fans react from shock to shrugs. When this big confession hit the internet, the reaction was a perfect blend of shock, laughter, and good old-fashioned meme chaos. Within hours, social media lit up like it was 1964 all over again. Except this time, instead of screaming fans outside hotels, it was keyboard warriors debating whether his pizza confession or his introvert reveal was more unbelievable. One fan on X, formerly Twitter, wrote, "So never ate pizza, hates noise, and sleeps in. Bro's been living my dream life." Another joked, "Plot twist, has been secretly British this whole time." The comment section quickly became a digital jam session of humor, nostalgia, and disbelief. Younger fans found it hilarious that one of the most famous musicians alive lives like a monk with a drum kit. "Dude, been in the Beatles, jammed with Bob, and he's still out here meal prepping vegetables," one Tik user said. Meanwhile, older fans took it as a sign that maybe he's doing something right, because he's one of the few rock legends from his era still alive, smiling and touring. Someone quipped, "All the wild ones are gone, chose salad over scandal, and look who's still standing." It's hard to argue with that logic. The man been through fame, frenzy, and the full circus of the music world, yet he's managed to stay grounded, literally, in his garden. But not all reactions were pure comedy. Some fans expressed genuine admiration. They pointed out that calm, quirky honesty is exactly what's kept him beloved across generations. While the other Beatles were known for their artistic intensity or controversies, legacy has always been defined by joy and self-awareness. He's not trying to be mysterious or edgy, he's just being. He's like the Beatles' emotional support drummer, one fan tweeted, earning thousands of likes. And maybe that's the perfect description, the steady heartbeat that never wavered even when fame nearly crushed the others. Still, leave it to the internet to make it ridiculous. Fan edits started popping up showing dodging pizza slices like it was an action movie, or meditating while pepperonis floated around him. Some even remixed old Beatles footage with captions like, "Meanwhile, just wondering what pizza tastes like." It's absurd, but it's also kind of beautiful proof that even after all these years, can still break the internet without even trying. And through all the jokes and jabs, one thing became clear: the world still loves him. Because behind every punchline is respect for a man who's aged like fine tea, not wine. Yet as fans laughed and memed their way through the headlines, didn't seem to care one bit. He just smiled, said peace and love, and went back to drumming, living proof that the best response to fame's absurdity is to keep your rhythm steady. But that leaves one final question lingering in the air. What does this all mean for his legacy, and how does an 84-year-old keep surprising us after all this time? The legend who still keeps secrets. And so, after all the laughter, memes, and viral headlines, we're left staring at the same conclusion the world has about. Even after 60 years in the spotlight, the man still manages to keep a little mystery alive. At 84, he's outlasted trends, generations, and probably half the world's cholesterol levels. He's seen fame in its ugliest forms, but somehow he's never let it own him. It's the kind of legend who will spill just enough truth to make you lean in, and then smile like he knows 10 more stories he'll never tell. Maybe that's why fans love him so much. He doesn't need drama or controversy to stay relevant. He just needs to be charming, funny, unapologetically weird, and full of peace and love. Even now, when he talks about his life, it's never from a pedestal. He laughs at himself, shrugs off fame, and somehow manages to make aging look like a casual hobby. "I still don't take myself too seriously," he said in a recent interview. "You can't play drums with a frown. That's the secret, really." Behind the headlines about pizza diets, and there's a man who's learned that joy isn't found in perfection, it's found in rhythm. He's kept that rhythm alive longer than almost anyone from his era, and he's done it without bitterness or burnout. If rock stars were judged not by rebellion but by resilience, would top the charts. Fans say his smile is his superpower, but maybe it's his patience. He's weathered the storm of being the other, the butt of jokes and the endless comparisons, yet he's never once lashed out. Instead, he just kept playing. Every time the world doubted him, he answered with another beat. Every time people expected a scandal, he gave them laughter instead. And now, as he stands in the twilight of an extraordinary life, remains exactly what he's always been, the heartbeat of an era that refused to die. So what did he finally admit that we all suspected? That beneath the fame, the quirks, and the peace signs, he's just a man who figured out life's simplest truth. Happiness doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. And maybe that's the most rock and roll thing of all.